When today is unpredictable, you need sound advice and strong support to help you stay focused on your long-term financial goals for tomorrow. Together with an advisor from Rise Private Wealth Management, formerly Pell Wealth Partners, a private wealth advisor practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, you can plan your future while navigating your now. Ameriprise Financial has been guiding clients through challenging times for 130 years. You can take comfort in working with a financial advisor who's backed by that strong experience and who's there to guide you with personalized, goal-based financial advice. Call Rise Private Wealth Management today at 914-253-8800. That's 914-253-8800. Office is located at 800 Westchester Avenue, Suite 300 in Rybrook, New York, and 300 East 40th Street, New York City. Not FDIC or NCUA insured. No financial institution guarantee. May lose value. Securities offered by Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Welcome to Leadership Unleashed, the show that will explore the multifaceted world of leadership through insightful interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and practical advice from experts throughout Westchester County and beyond. I'm your host, Amanda DePalma, Senior Vice President of Events and Development at the Business Council of Westchester. On today's episode of Leadership Unleashed, we're taking a look at leadership in higher education, what it takes to guide a university through demographic challenges, shifting workforce needs, strategic transformation, and rapid change. We're thrilled to be joined by someone leading that work every day, Dr. Frank Sánchez, president of Manhattanville University. With 3 decades of experience improving student success, strengthening institutions, and modernizing higher education systems, President Sánchez has led Manhattanville through a major rebrand, strengthened partnerships locally and globally, and continued to elevate the university's profile across the region. In today's episode, he'll share his insights on enrollment trends, how Manhattanville is preparing graduates for a competitive workforce, the challenges and opportunities facing higher education, and what lies ahead for the university. A special thank you to our sponsor, Westchester Medical Center, for their support of the Leadership Unleashed podcast.
A lot goes into planning a birthday. For my daughter Cameron, it started with a stem cell transplant to cure her sickle cell disease. Yes, cure. Westchester Medical Center Health Network uses every technology, technique, and talented specialist to conquer diseases that could otherwise rob a child of childhood, helping my daughter and thousands of others at Maria Ferrari Children's Hospital. Happy birthday, Cameron.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
President Sánchez, welcome to Leadership Unleashed. We're thrilled to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Good to join you.
And I have to say, as an alum, as an MVille alum,
right.
this is a privilege. So thank you for doing this with us.
Oh, happy to.
So to start, for listeners who may be a little less familiar with Manhattanville, can you tell us about the university, your student body, academic programs, and what makes campus life special?
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, you're right. Some folks may not know that Manhattanville is actually one of the oldest universities in the state of New York. We were founded in 1841. I've had, a very powerful mission during that time to educate ethical and socially responsible leaders in a global society. Today, our enrollments are right about 2,500 students, so it's a smaller campus community, about 1,600 undergrads and another 900 master's and PhD students. Some of our top academic programs that I think a lot of students are attracted to, certainly our nursing and health sciences is growing quite a bit, but education continues to be one of the top programs, particularly for our master's and PhD and EDD students. Business continues to be very strong, as well as a growing number of students entering in the sciences at Manhattanville, from computer science and biology to cybersecurity. We have about 750 students who live directly on campus. And we have a very robust athletic program, actually 23 men's and women's sports programs. We're part of the Skyline Conference. In fact, I'll share with you, just over the last month, we had our women's volleyball win their 4th consecutive Skyline Conference championship, and our women's tennis won their conference championship this fall.
Congratulations.
So, lots of activity on campus.
Oh, so good. And, as a fellow, again, volleyball player that just, tugs at the heartstrings there. So very proud.
They're doing very well. In fact, since their 4th championship, I think technically we can call them a dynasty now, right?
Very impressive. Now, across the country, especially here in the Northeast, the declining population of 18-year-olds is creating significant challenges for higher education. How is Manhattanville navigating the demographic shift, and how were enrollments this fall?
Absolutely. Manhattanville, speaking to the question about navigating, is really, I think, excelling in navigating this, what we're calling a very hyper-competitive higher education environment. And we're doing that by being forward-thinking, I think very deliberate in the work that we're doing. If you look at the research, it shows that, this, what they call the enrollment cliff, is really among us, in a decline in the college-age students. This past year, we advanced our primary, secondary, and tertiary markets. And those are, of course, cover where we've traditionally recruited in Westchester, where we saw growth. In the tri-state, we saw growth. And nationally, we saw growth. And I'll tell you, and our numbers are very, very strong. This past fall, we saw a 65% increase in the number of applications year over year, literally several thousand more applications, and applications from 49 different states, 34 different countries. But more importantly, we yielded a 20% increase in the number of new students. I have not heard any other institution in the state of New York or in the tri-state that saw that kind of growth. And so we're doing well. We believe it's going to continue to tighten and become increasingly more competitive. But right now we're faring, I think, well, considering the environment we're in. Those
are very impressive numbers. What would you say contributed to the large growth that you've seen?
We're studying this quite a bit. We're seeing a lot of families. They're really focused on the return on investment. So we're getting focus, of course, on the value and the worth we're giving back to families, and really reimagining the value proposition. I mean, when you consider that today, I think I was reading a study not long ago, that 53% of Americans are questioning the value of a college education.
I saw that article as well.
Yeah, and so we're taking that really seriously and say, okay, how do we deliver? How do we, become distinctive and differentiate ourselves amongst all the competition out there, while at the same time really addressing the return on investment? I mean, there's a reason right now that U.S. News and World Report ranks us, among the very top institutions in New York State in social mobility, moving students up the economic ladder as a result of our degree. I think there's a couple of reasons why more families are beginning to look at Manhattanville as a first choice. Certainly the academic innovations that are taking place at Manhattanville right now. And again, this is really to address the return on investments for a family. For example, this past fall, every single freshman starting at Manhattanville, regardless of the program they started, they can be part of essentially what we call a 4+1 program, accelerated advanced degree, where they can get a bachelor's and a master's degree in 5 years, saving time, money, loan, debt, energy to do that. This next year, right now, we're designing a 3-year bachelor's degree. So if you're motivated and you're focused and you're willing to put in the time and energy, you can walk away with a bachelor's degree in 3 years. We're planning to launch that this coming fall. Another thing that we've done over the last couple of years, a lot of schools do experiential learning, but we have embedded experiential learning into the Manhattanville experience. When you go to a lot of schools and you're looking for that internship, or you're looking for that research project, or maybe you want to do a service learning project, you kind of have to navigate and fill out applications and try to figure out how to get those important hands-on learning experiences. At Manhattanville, I'm very proud to say that 100% of our graduates will receive an experiential learning opportunity. We've embedded it. We've baked it into the experience. And by design, every single student will get one, whether it's an internship, a practicum in a classroom, a clinical in a hospital, maybe a study abroad, which we just launched one in Florence, Italy. But you will get that type of experience, and all the research will tell you that those hands-on learning experiences are just absolutely essential for our students to succeed in today's workforce.
Well, and that's just what makes it separates it and really makes it stand above the rest. You mentioned workforce. Preparing students for a competitive workforce is just more important than ever. How are you, or how is Manhattanville ensuring graduates are ready to succeed in these industries that are just evolving so rapidly?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's hard to keep up. And really the big question here for Manhattanville that I think we're beginning to answer is how do we, and this is true for any higher education institution in the country, how do we effectively prepare students for their entire career? We know that the shelf life of a college degree isn't what it used to be. And so how do we prepare students with the skills and the competencies and proficiencies to excel in an ever-changing workforce? We know there are jobs of the future that haven't even been developed
created yet. Absolutely.
How do we prepare students for that world? And so what we've done at Manhattanville, we know that the World Economic Forum, they've identified the type of skills needed for tomorrow's workforce. If you ever get a chance to look at it, what Manhattanville has done is we've begun to align our curriculum with those World Economic Forum skill sets. Skill sets like leadership, emotional intelligence, which we know is critical for students that are interacting with a whole variety of communities that are different from themselves. Ethical decision making, which I think many of us would argue we need now more than ever.
And wasn't always part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Flexible thinking skills, systems thinking skills. These are going to be critical with technology and the speed of change that's happening. We need our graduates to be adaptable. And so we're embedding that in curriculum. And instead of competing with AI, we want to have students have the skills to complement AI. And so that's, I think, we're right on the mark in preparing the future workforce. We know the degree is going to evolve and change over time. We need to have our graduates walk away with the skills that allow them to adapt and not just get that job, but excel and grow and advance within whatever field they choose.
Well, thank you for this. This has been an incredible conversation so far. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the future of Manhattanville, the challenges facing higher education, and what's ahead for the university. You're listening to Leadership Unleashed on the BCW Podcast Network.
This is the coming home you dream about.
But getting here was unimaginable.
At 25 weeks, I was hemorrhaging badly, losing amniotic fluid. Fortunately, I was taken to Westchester Medical Center, where they have the most advanced care in the Hudson Valley for high-risk pregnancies and premature babies. And because we were there, now we're here.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
We are back on the BCW Podcast Network. You're listening to Leadership Unleashed, and we're continuing our conversation with Dr. Frank Sánchez, president of Manhattanville University, on the challenges and successes he's experienced in stepping into the role, what's ahead for the university, and how Manhattanville is preparing for the future of higher education. President, you stepped into your role in 2023, and you've led some incredibly major initiatives, from rebranding the institution to strengthening partnerships. What have been some of the biggest challenges, and what have been successes that you're most proud of so far?
In fact, I think they're a little bit of one of the same. One of the biggest challenges I walked into was really where our finances were as an institution. We knew we had to strengthen kind of the financial health of Manhattanville. And I think that's where some of our successes have been. Certainly, I mentioned our enrollments, which have contributed a lot to our financial stability. But we initiated a whole variety of new revenue generation initiatives, such as both state and federal grants. I think the year before I arrived here, the institution brought in about $57,000 in grants. The following year, we brought in $1.4 million.
Incredible.
Became very competitive for state and federal grants and are beginning to build that entire apparatus for sponsored programs at the university. We also began to look at and are doing today rethinking about how we promote Reed Castle and some of the external relationships and partnerships to bring our community onto our campus as another way of generating revenue. For example, we have a holiday concert coming up on December 15th. This coming spring, I'm very excited. We're going to have a jazz series working with Arts of Westchester, partnering with them, and starting February 12th, we're going to have a 4-part jazz series in the castle here. In addition to that, we've begun to reach out to some of the film producers out there. We just signed Warner Brothers to do a major motion picture, some filming on our campus, as well as Netflix. All of these combined have really positioned the institution in a much more favorable financial position than we saw really just even 24 months ago. A dramatic change at our institution.
Well, these changes, I mean, they're so interesting and they're so unique, and they're really they're making a difference.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what's on the horizon for Manhattanville? Any major plans, initiatives? You talked about a few of the projects. What other ones do you have coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about starting this coming fall. We're going to jump in really a campus-wide initiative to reframe and develop really our Vision 2030, and it's a strategic plan. And so right now we're actually developing, establishing very clear core values and an institutional vision so that come next fall we can jump in to our strategic planning process. And really the goal here is to enhance our mission and further enhance our education for tomorrow's graduates. And that's probably going to be a combination of new capital investments. As we did this past year, we invested a couple of $1 million into our freshman residence hall, as well as our library. Over the course of this next year, we'll have invested over $1 million into modernizing our library, which we're very excited about. But I think the biggest project, while we continue to do a lot of work across the institution, this strategic planning is going to be absolutely critical to our success going forward. And we've already engaged our trustees in the process, our alumni board and additional alumni throughout the country, and certainly our campus will be involved with the process.
Well, these are all ways that Manhattanville is really positioning itself to take on, the future. But from your perspective, what other future challenges do colleges and universities need to prepare for, and how is Manhattanville preparing for those challenges?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We could probably spend this entire podcast on the challenges of higher ed. Part two from the enrollment pressures, the integration of AI, not only in the curriculum, but operationally, financial stability. But one conversation that I don't think a lot of higher education institutions are having, but we certainly are at Manhattanville, is really the next generation student. I'm going to show my age a little. I'm a Gen Xer, right? But the Gen Alpha is the student right around the corner. That's that 13, 14-year-old. I mean, these students are going to be on our campuses in like 3 to 4 years, but they've grown up their entire lives. Think about it, with
such a different
with
world.
Autonomous vehicles, with smart speakers, and not just information at their fingertips by their phones, but services by voice command. I mean, this generation of students, the Gen Alpha coming in, standing in line is foreign to them. It's uncomfortable. And when you think about the collegiate experience, I don't know if you stood in any lines.
I did, but I was well decked out in Manhattanville swag and merch, so I was very comfortable. Any line I had to stand.
Yeah. Well, but I'll tell you, this generation of students, and you can't blame them, it's unclear why they have to stand in line at all. They should have access to information, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. Yeah. And so how higher education institutions across the country automate their systems of services and automate the delivery of their education is going to be in itself a transformative process, and it's going to happen quickly. We're beginning to take steps in that direction to prepare for that Gen Alpha, and I think there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done in how we provide not only the education, but critical services like advising and counseling, even connecting with peers. How do we facilitate that for tomorrow's students? And I think that's going to be a big challenge for institutions, because I'll tell you, students will go elsewhere if we're not meeting their needs and meeting them where they're at.
Well, thank you for this, President Sánchez. Thank you so much for joining us today on Leadership Unleashed. Your leadership vision and dedication to strengthening Manhattanville University and preparing the next generation of graduates is truly inspiring. My son is a Gen Alpha as well, so he'll be coming up the lines in a bit soon too. So I'll send him your way.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you again to Westchester Medical Center for their support, and to the listeners of Leadership Unleashed for tuning in. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the BCW Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the BCW Podcast Network's expansive lineup of shows: Leadership Unleashed, What's Trending, Advocacy and Politics Unplugged, The Member Spotlight, and Nonprofit Voices of Impact. The Business Council of Westchester is the county's largest business membership organization focusing on economic development and advocacy. With over 1,100 members, it is our mission to work for the profitability of our members and the prosperity of the Westchester community. To learn more about the Business Council of Westchester, please go to thebcw.org.
The BCW Podcast Network. Build, connect,